Hi, good afternoon. This is a video about how to service your water filter, and I'm just going to run through the basic details of how to do it, give you a bit of an idea of what you can expect to find and how to do it, and it should be fairly easy. It's a very simple process really. So the very first thing that I wanted to show you was, when I'm doing it, I always have some sort of a pad to kneel on, but a rolled up towel or anything, a bit of carpet, anything like that, because you're going to use your knees on the floor to get this out of the cupboard. Or you might even decide to leave it in the cupboard and work on it in there. If it's fairly easy access, I would just say leave it there and just do it this way. Now, the very first thing you have to do is turn off the water supply. And you do that by finding a stop valve that will be somewhere near the inlet. The water comes from the mains, usually a white or a yellow tube, and it comes through a pressure limiting valve, and then somewhere there's a valve to turn the water off. If you don't turn the water off, you'll never undo these because the water pressure inside makes them very hard to turn, which is good, because if you did take these apart and the mains water was still connected, you would flood your kitchen. So how do you do it? Well, the first thing you do is you get a spanner, which you probably have already. If you didn't have it, I'll show you something else. One of these basin straps is very good. You can get them from Bunnings fairly cheaply, and you put them on. The reason for using something like this is it's soft, nothing metallic. You don't want to scratch the housing because that will weaken it. But if you have one of these spanners, that'll work quite well. So you get under the sink and you hook up the spanner onto the first one, having turned the water off here first, like so. And I should tell you that the tubes that come in either side are connected through a little connector with a little collar on it. If you did want to take it out, you would have to remove the two tubes from the side of the thing. This one's connected straight in, but usually there's a piece of tubing that comes out on the side. And to remove that, this is going to be mounted just on the side there. And to remove the tubing, there's a little collar on the top of that. You press that in and pull this tubing out. And to replace it, you push it in, and there it's jammed a little bit, but it's not all the way in. So if you don't push it in that bit further, it would leak. So you have to make sure it's fully pushed in when you're replacing it. Now, having turned off the water and you're comfortable kneeling down, make sure you've got a towel or two. I usually use Microsoft towels. They're quite absorbent, because you don't want water dripping all over the place. Because when you open this up, the water will be right up to the top level, and it's good to have something under it, a tray or a towel, just on the floor of the cupboard, just under it like that, so that you catch any drips. Not be more than a drip, but you might actually tilt it and have a fair bit of water coming out. So having said that, to open them, remember I said that if the water's not turned off, this will not turn, so it's a good indication you forgot to turn it off. But you push the spanner on here like this. Let me put it around this side so you can see it better. So you take it around and around and around until they're loosened. When they're loosened, they're fairly easy to remove, like so. And this is the point where you'll have water possibly spilling out. Remember, this is already mounted inside the sink, or inside the cupboard, and these will be screwed off and lowered down. Now, inside you will have two cartridges. On the inlet side you'll have a sediment filter, and on the outlet side you will have a carbon filter. And they look nice and prime and clean and white. When you're taking out your used ones, they will look quite brown and dark, and there might even be some black carbon in the bottom, which is overflow from the carbon filter. So having done that, you take these and you put these in the bin straight away, because you don't want to mix them up with the new ones, just in case. Now, when you've done that, what you're going to do is clean out the inside. I use a spray bottle, which is about the easiest thing you can do. Just spray it inside and spray it all around the inside edges, and then run some hot water and put in about this much hot water into each of the canisters. And I find an ordinary dish mop works quite well. You have water in here now, and you just wash around inside like that, and do that with both of them. But down the bottom there's some little ridges, and you need some water in there and some sprays. Oh, what I use, by the way, is any kind of household bleach, a little bit of that, or a little bit of White King, or even a solution of Milton's baby bottles, sterilising tablets, anything like that. It's just to kill any bacteria that's in there. And keep in mind that when your cartridges have been in there 6 months or more, you've got the chance of bacteria build up, which does not go well with your coffee. So having sprayed it inside and a little bit of water to about there, you get down with a long handle brush. I use artist brushes upon any art store. That's an easy way of doing it. And you just go down, and I don't know if you can see it from the camera, but see down the bottom there, this is actually a second-hand unit, so you can see it's quite dirty down the bottom there. So you just brush it around inside with a brush, or you can use some kind of dish mop or something like that if you haven't got that. And then when you've done all that, you've actually cleaned the two of them. And now what you need to do now is just give it a good rinse out. Make sure you've rinsed out anything, like if you used White King, you want to make sure that's fully rinsed out. And then the next thing is, and I just realised something I haven't got here. Anyway, in here, just in the top here, there should be 2 rubber seals, little O-rings, or O-rings that fit right around there. You just take those out and give them a bit of a scrub with a cloth or something and clean them. And then you apply some Vaseline, or I use a food safe lubricant to just run around on the seals. They are quite easy to do, and Vaseline does a good job. You don't need very much, just a slightest smear. The reason for that is that when this surface comes together with that surface, they'll press on the seals and tend to twist. And if that's lubricated, it'll be pretty good for it, but if it's not lubricated, it could stretch the seals, and if they're stretched, they'll leak. And you don't want them to leak. Okay, so when you've done all that, you've got the inside of these quite clean and sanitised, and I have got the seals here anyway. They're actually connected on this side now. So they're the seals. You just wash them, sanitise them, lubricate them and put them back on. But when you do this, you clean around inside where the seal goes with your brush or with your dish mop. Just clean around there and around the top there. Now you put the lubricant on this, put it back on, and if you're doing this while it's still mounted in the cupboard, well, you'll just be pushing it up from there. It doesn't matter which way you put them on. Now, having done all that, the next thing is to unwrap the new water filters, and these are the ones I took out. So you're going to pretend that these are the new ones. Actually, they are new ones. Now, the sediment filter, this is just a foam block, and the purpose of the foam is to remove sediment, which can be sand or grit, rust, dead mosquitoes, anything that's visible that comes through the filter. And you're going to put that into one of them, and this one's the carbon filter, which removes chemicals takes that chlorine just on 100% when it's new, and it'll last about 6 months, 4 to 6 months depending on usage, usually about 6 months for the average household. You place that in there, or if it's in a commercial premises, it might be 2 to 3 or 4 months, because if there's a lot of people using it, you're using it up faster. Now, having done that, you have to know which is which here. So the inlet side is the side where the valve is. So that means that, oh, I think I left something out. You actually clean inside this with some spray and the dishcloth to clean out inside there. Now, having done that, this is the inlet side. You can tell by the valve and the stop valve. And this is the side that goes to the mains. So you put that back into, let me move that. That goes back in there. And you screw it up. Just like that. Just get it up to hand tight. Then you put the other side on, you offer it up there and you screw it in again like that. Here it goes. Now what I've done is, I've put them in, just screwed them up a fair bit. Now to tighten them up properly, do not use a spanner, just hand tight, because they're very easy to tighten up, and you know when you've got them right, because when you tighten them up, I'll just give you an idea, it gets to be hard to turn any further than that. I'll do this one as well. And when it's hard to turn, that's about right, but you will notice that there is a slight, where are we? Let's see if we can get the camera right. There's a slight gap here where they meet, and you can't take it any further than that, because that's where the seal is, in between those two. So having done that, you now connect up, or if you've taken the tubes out, you put them back in, but that's about it. What you're going to do now is keep some towels underneath, turn the mains on again, open the valve, and you'll hear the water running through. Let it run through the faucet. When it first comes out, it could be black. That's just loose carbon that's coming through, or it could be white, which is air bubbles. Air bubbles are not a problem, and the black isn't a problem either, but it doesn't look so good. And that's about the end of the story. So when you've done that, just let it run for about 5 or 10 minutes, make sure it's flushed out properly, and when you've done that, you're good to go. And if you have any questions, you give me a call.